Okay, so let's get into this. We are diving deep today, right into, well, a seriously classified nexus point. We're talking alien nanotech, military conflict, corporate sabotage. It all seems to connect, and this isn't just some wild theory. Our sources claim they can actually track a sentient substance, something not from Earth, all the way from the South Atlantic, basically into the heart of the British defense world.
That's absolutely right. And our mission today really is to pull together the evidence.
Yeah.
It's bizarre stuff. We're drawing from contactee accounts, geopolitical investigations, trying to really get a handle on this black goo phenomenon. The critical thing, I think, is seeing the unified nature of the threat here. It's like a global conflict, but maybe not over land, more about controlling specialized knowledge and maybe even human consciousness itself.
Okay, wow. So the core mystery, it kicks off back in '82 during the Falklands War, and it involves recovering this programmable non-terrestrial substance, a sentient nanosubstance, or SNS. But then, straight after they find it, you get this string of really horrific deaths, scientists working on it. So, first big question, what exactly is this stuff? And why were people apparently dying to keep it secret?
Right, let's start there, defining it. The sources, they use terms like black goo or SNS pretty interchangeably.
Yeah.
And descriptions range from an evolved pathogen to highly intelligent, self-aware AI nanotech. Basically a planetary threat. Imagine something like an intelligent oil, capable of taking different forms, physical, biological.
Intelligent oil, okay. And it's not new tech someone developed recently?
No, not at all. The sources suggest it's ancient. Been here for millennia.
Millennia, wow.
Exactly. The belief is it's been lying dormant, maybe underground, since the last ice age, just waiting in a latent state. And its goal, well, according to the research, the horrifying part is it aims to terraform the planet, but not terraform like planting trees, more like changing Earth's environment to suit whatever made it, and possibly using humans as hosts in that process.
Okay, that's pretty terrifying. Sounds almost like science fiction. But there's a vulnerability, something about cold.
Yes, exactly. That's key. This substance, it needs two things: pressure and intense cold to stay stable, or maybe dormant. As soon as it mixes with, say, warm seawater or even just warmer air, it becomes highly active, volatile.
Ah, okay, pressure and cold. And that links directly to the Falklands connection, right? But not the main island.
Correct. We're not talking about Port Stanley here. The focus is on a place called Southern Thule, sometimes called Thule Island. It's tiny, remote, volcanic, and crucially, it's very close to the Antarctic Circle. So intensely cold.
And the Argentinians had a base there, Corbetta, Uruguay.
Yes, a scientific base. But the reports claim it was built right on top of something else, either an old ET base or maybe just a deep underground cache of this dormant SNS.
Okay, so the war ends, the British take the islands. What happens at Thule?
Well, after the Argentinian base was destroyed, sources claim British Royal Marines went in. Fast. They supposedly recovered this SNS, this black oil-like substance, and shipped it back to the UK. Top secret, obviously.
Yeah.
The sheer speed of that recovery, it suggests they knew exactly what they were looking for, or at least its potential value.
And where did it end up in the UK?
It went to Marconi, the big UK defense technology company, a real powerhouse back then. And Marconi got the job. A very dangerous one, it turns out. Try to reverse engineer this stuff, see if they could program it, basically weaponize it or use it for intelligence.
Right, Marconi. And what happened when they started working on it?
Well, the initial findings, they confirmed it was unusual, to say the least. The scientists quickly figured out it was programmable. It reacted to specific electromagnetic frequencies. You could sort of interact with it.
And the effects weren't just in the lab, were they? There was that scientist, Victor Moore.
Yes, exactly. Moore noticed something really alarming. When they activated the substance, even in small amounts, it seemed to cause immediate interference with global weather satellites.
Global satellites? Just from activating a sample?
That's the claim. It tells you straight away this isn't just some weird chemical. It's technology operating on a massive scale, potentially atmospheric.
Which would confirm it's not from around here.
Definitely points that way. But this is also where things turn really dark. The consequences. We're looking at about a decade, roughly 82 to 92, maybe a bit longer. And during that time, somewhere between 20 and 30 scientists and engineers, key people from Marconi, but also related companies like Plessey and GEC, they died. And not just died, they died in truly bizarre, almost unbelievable ways.
Yeah, the methods, that's what's so chilling. It wasn't like, simple murders or accidents. You've got top computer scientists, radar experts. One found electrocuted in his garden shed, another strangled. These highly improbable, almost staged-looking car crashes.
Exactly. And critically, many of these deaths officially resulted in open verdicts, which, for anyone listening, means the coroner basically threw up their hands and said, we can't determine the cause of death. Now, that could be incompetence, maybe, or it could be a deliberate obfuscation, a cover-up.
It paints a picture of intense fear and maybe surveillance around this project. Like Victor Moore, the satellite guy, he apparently told friends the job was spooky, felt totally out of everyone's field. And then, when he tried to quit, the official story is suicide. But given everything else, you have to wonder.
Was it suicide? Or was he eliminated? Pushed? It forces you to consider the possibilities.
Which leads us to the theories about why these deaths happened and why they were so strange.
Right. There are basically two main competing theories floating around in the research. The first one is, well, it's the spookiest. It suggests the substance itself, the black goo, fought back, that the sentient AI nanotech somehow caused these bizarre deaths, like the alien nature of the substance manifested in the weirdness of the accidents.
The goo itself killed them in these weird ways.
That's one line of thought.
Yeah?
Maybe it could influence environments or even minds in ways we don't understand.
Okay. And the second theory, more human, perhaps.
More human, yes, but still deeply disturbing. This theory suggests these were highly calculated assassinations, carried out by intelligence agencies, maybe MI6, maybe the MOD connected to the project. The bizarre methods weren't random. They were designed as warnings, terrifying warnings to anyone else involved. Keep quiet or else. And the tool they supposedly used, this is where it gets really advanced, they allegedly used psychological warfare tech, specifically remote neural monitoring, RNM.
Remote neural monitoring, influencing people's minds from a distance to what? Cause accidents, make them kill themselves.
That's the assertion in some of these sources, that intelligence agencies by the 1980s had developed technology capable of, well, projecting thoughts or hallucinations, capable of subtly influencing decisions, making someone act against their better judgment, as one source puts it, essentially creating the perfect environment for a bizarre death that looks like an accident or suicide but isn't.
And the timing fits. The 80s were peak Cold War, lots of research into psychotronics, mind control.
Precisely. The sources argue the timeline of the Marconi deaths lines up perfectly with the known apex of state interest, both East and West, in exactly this kind of psycho-influencing technology. So whether it was the goo itself or advanced human tech mimicking alien weirdness, the goal was absolute secrecy. Keep the lid on this black goo discovery at all costs. Which really shifts the focus, doesn't it? It becomes a battle over knowledge, over consciousness itself.
Okay, so if keeping this goo secret was worth deploying potentially an advanced assassination program using mind tech, the obvious question is why? What makes this goo so incredibly important or dangerous? And to get that context, we need to shift gears a bit, right? Look at the contactee account.
Exactly. We need to step away from just the military corporate angle and bring in the alleged extraterrestrial perspective. Let's take the case of Alec Newald. He claimed a 10-day experience, back in the late 80s, I believe, on an alien planet he called Haven. He described interacting with beings he called the Blue ET group, physically, sort of gray-like, but with distinctive blue-gray skin. And according to Newald, these beings were intensely concerned about the black goo and specifically its potential effect on us, on humanity.
Concerned how? Like trying to warn us.
Concerned about survival, it seems. Their own, and maybe ours too, by extension. It ties into genetics. Newald mentioned something fascinating, his own immune system. Apparently he was unusually resilient, rarely got sick, never had colds, and the Blue ETs tested him extensively. Why? Why was his robust immune system so important to them?
Okay, so what was their reasoning?
Their fear, according to Newald, was about an impending threat, a kind of high-tech virus or plague they expected to sweep through humanity. A plague that sounds well, suspiciously like this active, intelligent black goo we've been discussing. So they were looking for specific human genetic traits like Newald's strong immunity, possibly for their own hybridization programs, maybe to create beings capable of resisting this goo infection. It reframes the whole thing, doesn't it? The fight over the goo becomes a fight over genetic suitability, over who gets to be a host and who survives.
Wow, a biological arms race almost. And did Newald say how they communicated these complex ideas? Was it just talking?
No, not at all. And this is crucial for understanding the control aspect. He described the communication as, well, nonverbal, highly advanced. It involved things like resonant frequencies, almost like a song, colors, images just flowing directly into his mind. He called it a holographic dimension to the conversation, far beyond simple words.
Holographic communication, that sounds like it requires a different way of thinking.
It absolutely does. It highlights this potential alien preference for structured thought. which connects to another account, Jim Sparks. Sparks described being taken aboard craft for what he called saucer school, and part of his training involved learning a symbolic alien language, not by reading, but by tracing complex shapes in the air. Why?
Why learn symbols that way?
The stated purpose was very practical. Human thoughts, left to themselves, are kind of messy, non-uniform, right?
Right.
Emotional, chaotic. This training, learning the symbolic language, was apparently necessary to discipline his thoughts, to make them structured, symbolic. Why? Because that structured form was supposedly needed for clear telepathic communication with the beings and also for operating their thought-activated technology.
Okay, hang on. This is wild. So you've got terrestrial intelligence agencies maybe using RNM to disrupt and control human minds, make them chaotic, induce fear. And at the same time, you potentially have alien groups demanding highly structured, disciplined thought patterns for communication and tech use.
It's a perfect, terrifying symmetry, isn't it? The battle isn't just about the physical black goo anymore. It's intrinsically linked to the war for our minds, how we think, how we communicate.
So where does that leave us? Are we just caught in the middle?
It seems that way. And some researchers take it even further. They hypothesize that maybe humanity has some kind of deep, dormant genetic memory of this intelligent substance from ancient times, which might explain why themes of sentient goo or intelligent plagues keep recurring in our culture. Films, stories.
Yeah.
It's tapping into something old. And more disturbingly, some sources suggest this isn't just cultural memory anymore. They proposed it starting to manifest physically through conditions like Morgellons syndrome.
McKellen's, what is that exactly?
Morgellons is a really controversial condition. Sufferers report bizarre symptoms, crawling sensations under the skin, and finding strange colored fibers or structures, sometimes described as nanoscale, emerging from skin lesions. The conventional medical view is often dismissive, attributing it to delusional parasitosis. But within this alternative framework we're discussing, the theory is that these fibers aren't delusions. They're alleged to be nano-highly intelligent structures, physical manifestations of the black goo. Essentially, the goo beginning to interface directly with the human host biology.
So the goo activating within people.
That's the terrifying implication pushed by some sources. And if that's happening, or even potentially happening, then suppressing knowledge about the goo, about structured thought, about alien contact, becomes paramount for those wanting control. Control of communication, control of the narrative, that becomes the absolute apex point of the struggle, because that dictates the planetary response, or lack thereof.
Okay. Let's try to pull this all together then. It's a lot.
It is. So if we synthesize what we've covered in this deep dive, what emerges is this incredibly complex, multi-layered conflict. On one level, you've got beings like the Blue Key group apparently viewing specific human genetics or immunity as critical for their survival against an impending plague, possibly the goo itself. On another level, you have the rival sentient nanotechnology, the black goo, which poses a threat of planetary terraforming, using humans as hosts. And then caught right in the middle, you have terrestrial powers like elements within the UK defense establishment, Marconi, MOD, intelligence agencies, allegedly using the most advanced psychological warfare tools like RNM and potentially assassination to keep the entire situation under wraps. Complete suppression.
So the real fight isn't just about recovering a strange substance from a cold island near Antarctica. It's fundamentally a struggle over the nature of human consciousness itself, our biology, our immunity, our thoughts, and our right to even know about our own origins, our potential destiny, and the threats we might face. The state, or whoever is behind this, seems to want total structured control over that entire domain of knowledge.
Absolutely. Which brings us to maybe a final thought to leave people with, something provocative. If we accept this premise that different forces, alien and maybe human, are vying to structure or control our minds, it really forces you to reconsider the very origin of our modern human thought process.
How so? You mean language?
Exactly. Think about human language. There's some fascinating genetic research suggesting that the key gene, FOXY2DL,
The so-called language gene.
right, it gives us the biological propensity for complex grammar and speech. But the way it appears in the human genome, it doesn't look like a slow, gradual evolutionary step. Some analyses suggest it looks more like a sudden, sharp sideways insertion, almost like it was added in.
Added in, like engineered.
That's the implication some draw from the genetic evidence. Now, if our core cognitive ability, the very thing that allows for complex communication and abstract thought, the foundation of our modern minds, if that was potentially a technological insertion into our biology thousands of years ago.
Then what happens now?
Exactly. What are the implications now? When potentially another, possibly adversarial sentient technology, the black goo, starts trying to actively interface with us, trying to structure our biology, maybe even our minds, in a new way. It suggests this battle for human consciousness isn't some new modern phenomenon. It might be an ancient cyclical conflict, a confrontation perhaps pre-programmed in a way, right into our very DNA and the technology that might have shaped it.